In today's video, we're going camping.
Welcome. Sorry. I thought you were going to say that, and then...
In today's video, we're going camping.
Welcome to Tech Talk.
Tight.
Hit the tempo. All my people, strapping, we about to take control. The rhythm, the vibe, that's when you know it's time to get right. Hit the tempo. All my people, strapping, we about to take control. The rhythm, the vibe, that's when you know it's time to get right. Hit the tempo. Just do what you do, what you do, what you do, what you do. Hit the tempo. That's what's for you, it's for you, it's for you, it's for you.
What's going on, you guys? My name is Peyton Burlesford. Welcome to my channel where I talk all things live music events, giving you the tips and tricks to make the most out of your experience. Today, we're doing a very special video with Bonnaroo and Electric Forest just around the corner. We know that many of you are getting ready to load up your cars, take them on the road, and get to your favorite camping festivals this summer. So I am joined here by a very special guest, my friend Tyler, who is a fellow festival veteran as well as a camping festival veteran, to give you everything you need to know to set up a safe, secure, and fun campsite. So Tyler, I'll let you introduce yourself.
Hey, what's up, everybody? My name's Tyler. I've been going to shows since 2012. I lost count of how many camping festivals I've been to Forest twice. Happy to share my tips and tricks, help you all out.
Yeah. In addition to that, Tyler is a very seasoned outdoorsman living here in Denver, Colorado. He has gone on many a backpacking trip, slept in many a tent, and been a little bit of a dirtbagger over the years, which, you know, we say with a very positive connotation here on this channel. What's going on, you guys? Future Peyton here. Just wanted to give a little bit more background and information that I forgot to include in my introduction when I was recording in Tyler's backyard. So just a little bit of background on me. I have a deep love of camping music festivals. I've been to 9 of them, starting with Bonnaroo in 2015, continuing with Okeechobee in 2016 and 17, then moving on to Electric Forest in 2019, followed by EDC Las Vegas for Camp EDC in 2021 and 2022, followed by Electric Forest in 2022, 23, and 24. So I've got a little bit of a resume when it comes to sleeping in tents in dusty fields at music festivals. Really love doing them and excited to share my tips and tricks with you all today. This is really going to be a more basic video. I won't be getting too deep into advanced tips and tricks for camping or sort of glamping tips and tricks. This is really just meant to provide a baseline idea for how to set up your camp if you've never done it before. Now, everything that you're going to see in this video is something that I highly recommend that you do yourself at home before you go to a camping festival. Take out your camping equipment from your closet, your garage, or your shed early. Make sure that it's not dirty or ruined from the last time that you used it. Make sure that you actually understand how to set it up and how it all works together, and you'll be good to go. This is especially important if you have brand new camping equipment that you're breaking in for the first time. You do not want to be figuring out how to use your tent for the first time in a dusty field, or especially if you're unlucky enough to be setting up your camp at night. So with all of that said, back to Tyler's backyard. We're going to take you through these tips and tricks as if we were actually arriving at a camping festival ourselves, unloading the car, and setting everything up in a dusty field for the weekend. We're going to take you through all the necessary steps from setting up your canopy to establishing your hangout area for the weekend. So, starting first, let's talk about the size of your campsite. So when you arrive, you should typically expect at most camping festivals, this varies from place to place, so you're going to want to check what the guidelines are for each festival on their website before you arrive. But generally speaking, your campsite's going to be roughly 12 feet by 30 feet. So Tyler and I are going to show you generally what that looks like. So your campsite is going to run you roughly from about here in this corner until about there in that corner where you see Tyler waving at you. So this will be roughly about 12 by 30 feet, which will give you lots of space to set up a couple of tents, a couple of pop-up canopies. However, there is one thing to note when you are setting up your campsite, and that is that your car is going to take up roughly half of that 30-foot length. If you think about a car being, you know, anywhere from about 12 to maybe 15 feet in length, if you've got something like a Tahoe or a Suburban, you may be extending past that. So that's going to take up about roughly half of that that space. So just something to keep in mind. So as we're working through this video, we're really going to be working in more of the front portion of this space, assuming that your car would be parked behind that tree where Tyler is. Okay, so before we actually get anything out or set anything up, I wanted to show you how I actually store and organize my camping gear. Now, this is my REI Co-op Packaway 40-liter organizer. This is sort of a soft-sided crate or a trunk that I use to keep and organize all of my soft-sided camping goods. So anything like a tent, sleeping bag, camping pillow, blanket, tarp, tapestry, anything that is soft and collapsible will go in this crate. So as you can see, it's nice and large, tilted up, fits all of my gear, and these are things that would typically just be odds and ends that would be lying around or flying around the inside of your car while you're making the road trip cross country. So being able to keep the gear in here just makes it extremely easy to pack up, load, unload, and reload the car when you're going to a camping festival. The other advantage of this gives you a very easy organizer to keep things like your sleeping bag, or your tent bag in, your stake bags in when you're not using them when you're at camp. Just gives you somewhere to place and store stuff where you know it's all in one place and accounted for so that you don't lose it over the course of a very hectic or chaotic weekend. Now, this large 40-liter is great for holding my soft camping goods, but there's still a lot of other bits and bobs that end up floating around in the car through a weekend that I like to make sure are accounted for and organized in their own containers. So for that, I use these guys. This is my REI Packaway 10-liter and my REI Packaway 25-liter. Now, between these two guys, I use the 25-liter to carry all of my camp kitchen equipment, so that means all of my pots and pans, my silverware, my cookware, and for the 10-liter here, I use this for all of my miscellaneous camping equipment. So whether that is a first aid item, whether it's a camping stake, whether it is rope or zip ties or scissors or screwdrivers, those end up in here so that they're all accounted for and together. All right, so first things first, when you're setting up your campsite, you want to start with your tent. Now, the reason you're going to start with your tent is because as you're maneuvering things like large tent poles, getting them out of the way, getting other things set up, you just want as much room as possible. And so you don't want to set up your canopies first and have those 4 canopy legs in the way of things. You just want open space. So Tyler is behind me getting the tent set up. You're first just going to lay out that footprint, get everything right where you want it, and then you'll begin actually popping it up. All right, the tent is popped up. We got all the poles in the right holes. And so now what Tyler is breaking out is the tarp. You might also hear about this as a footprint. And so we're gonna be placing this underneath the tent to protect the bottom of the tent from any rocks or debris that could potentially damage it. Provide just a little bit of cushion, not much, but you know, anything helps. And this will also be a great barrier in case of rain. So just giving you another layer between yourself and the ground to make sure that you don't get wet in case of an emergency. All right, so Tyler, as you're getting the footprint placed under the tent, what are you really making sure about, or what are you looking for?
Yeah, when I'm getting the footprint ready, one thing I really want to make sure is that it's not sticking out underneath the tent. If you have the footprint sticking out here, if it rains, that just gives it another shot for that water to pool up, go under your tent, make a puddle. We don't want that, so make sure your tent is covering it completely. Yeah,
we don't want any holes in the tent to begin with, but if there are any holes in the tent and you have that tapestry placed so that it's, you know, there's still some hanging out, rain will just fall on top of it. It'll run underneath of your tent, and then you'll have yourself a Little Rascals type situation where you can just squeeze some water through the bottom of the tent.
Well, why am I soaking wet? Don't worry, Alfalfa. I used to have the same problem. This is just the hole in the tent.
All right, so now that we've got the tent situated exactly where we want it, we have the footprint, we've got the tarp placed neatly underneath the tent. What we want to do is go ahead and actually stake this down. Now, when you stake the tent, you want to take advantage of every location that you have to actually use the stakes, and you want to double stake as much as possible. Just in case there's any wind, you don't want this tent looking like the house in the Wizard of Oz flying through Kansas. So we're going to take you through just the close-up on how we do that. Just a little pro tip when you're putting in your camping stakes, you really want to use one of these rubber mallets. Save your hands. Don't use a rock, just use a mallet. It's much safer, much quicker. You'll have a much better time using this. Okay, now the tent is staked down. The last step is adding the rain fly. This will really protect you from the elements. If you happen to be at a camping festival where the weather is just beautiful, you can just leave this off. You'll get some nice, beautiful airflow and breeze through the tent, but you know, that's not a risk most of us are willing to take. So put the rain fly on immediately, make sure you're shielded from the elements, shielded from the sun, and you'll have a much better time. All right, now that we have the tent set up, one more thing to note here now that you actually have the rain fly on. So once you get that rain fly on and you stake it, it's gonna go a little bit further out than the original footprint of your tent. So you wanna make sure that you're spacing things enough that you do have room to enter and exit your tent without any issues. So just be mindful of that as you're adding more things to your camp. Little note that we discovered here while filming, I broke out this single person tent that I bought, years ago in probably 2014, 2015 for my first ever Bonnaroo. And upon taking it out, realized that the inside is covered in mold. And then taking out the tent pole, you can see that the elastic here that is meant to keep the pole together and make it nice and taut so that you can actually use it to hold your tent up is looser than a whore's vagina on Christmas.
And her vagina hang like sleeve of wizard.
Huh. Jeez.
So that's not going to be working for anybody's tent anytime soon. So yeah, this is a really good tip to just always make sure that you take your camping gear out ahead of time, make sure that you check it, and also make sure that you clean it and properly store it after the last festival, because you do not want to be taking out your equipment, especially if you've made an investment in it over the years and realize that it's gross or completely non-functional. So check your shit.
Yeah. Take care of your gear. It'll take care of you.
Bingo. Okay, just two very quick notes on tent selection when it comes to size as well as setup. When it comes to size, it's important to note that when you typically see the number of people that a tent is sized for on the packaging or the tent itself, that literally just means that it is sized for the amount of people that you can fit in it without any extra gear. So if a tent says that it is a 2-person tent, that means that you can fit 2 people and no extra bags or any extra equipment. If it says that it can fit 4 people, that is 4 people side by side by side with no extra bags or extra equipment. So if you are going to have 4 people in your tent, you most likely want to plan to bring a 5 or a 6-person tent. Also, a good reminder that if you do want to bring a Princess Palace size of a tent for only a few people that are actually sleeping in it, just be mindful of the actual size of your camp space, because if the tent doesn't fit, you are going to either piss off your neighbors or you're going to piss off the festival operators, neither of which are a great situation. When it comes to the second tip for the actual setup of your tent, the reason that I actually got the 1-person tent out to show you all, the one that got moldy and gross and I couldn't set up, was because that tent is actually a suspension tent. So rather than being held up purely by the tent poles, you actually need to stake the tent into the ground and make sure that it is held taut on either side so that the suspension of the tent itself is actually what's keeping it held up. This is different from the actual tent that we have in the video, which is a pop-up tent which is held up by nothing more than the tent poles themselves. You simply stake the tent into the ground to make sure that the wind doesn't blow it away. All right, now that you've got the tent set up, the next thing that you're going to get ready is your pop-up canopy. Your pop-up canopy is really going to be your source of shade. It's going to be a little bit of shelter in case of rain, so it's really crucial to get this set up in the exact right spot. Make sure that you've got good coverage both for the sun as well as the rain, and yeah, really just making sure that you've got a good hangout area as well. All right, with the pop-up canopy set up, we've got it placed over the tent, so that way the tent will have nice shade through the weekend, will be covered. If it rains, that will give us an additional layer of protection on top of the rain fly on the tent. So this is really the best way to set up your first pop-up canopy. It is important to note that we've got it set to the highest level right now, but in the event that you've got any high wind, you've got really intense rain, you really want to drop that canopy down to the ground so that way it won't blow over as easily. And speaking of blowing over, we've got to show you the most important tip when setting up a pop-up canopy at a festival. Very important pro tip when setting up your pop-up canopy, the selection of your stakes. Now here's an example stake that will come with your average pop-up canopy or tent. Look how skinny that is. That's just, who's that doing any good? That's doing nobody any good. So here's what you're gonna want. You're gonna wanna get yourself one of these thicky boys. This is an extra camping stake that you can get from REI, from really anywhere that sells camping equipment. Look at the difference. Just look at the difference between those two. Tell me which one you would want. Which one do you think is gonna be more satisfying? Yep. Ladies, I think I know which one you would choose.
Sometimes bigger isn't better, but here it is.
Bigger isn't always better, but gentlemen, here it really is. Guys, seriously, please make sure that you double stake your canopies because again, you do not want to have a Wizard of Oz moment with your canopy taking off in the wind. We've seen it time and time again. It's happened at Electric Forest. It happened this year at Coachella. It happened to me at my second camping festival, Okeechobee, in 2016, when a wook next door did not stake their canopy whatsoever. The wind picked it up, blew it into my car, and cracked my taillight. So, for your own sake and the sake of others around you, please stake your canopy. I did not set this camera up in a smart position. The sun is just setting behind my head, and so I'm just gonna keep crouching lower and lower slowly to keep shooting these bits. But anyways, now we've got the first canopy up here over the tent. That'll give the shade and protection for our tent, but now we wanna get the second canopy set up. This is going to provide the protection for our hangout area. This is where we'll be spending time when we're just chilling with friends in camp, where we'll be doing most of our cooking and yeah, just spending time. So we wanna make sure that that's also protected and comfortable throughout the weekend. All right, that's way better. I finally gave the camera a scoochy scooch. I don't know why I didn't do that far earlier. All right, so now we've got both canopies set up here on my left and right. We've got the canopy over the tent, and we've got the canopy set up in open space for our hangout area. So this is where we are going to set up chairs. It's where we are going to set up a rug so that folks can take their shoes off and be nice and comfortable. And yeah, really just kind of make our living space in camp. All right, in addition to some of your regular garden variety camping chairs, something else that I highly recommend to make camp not only more comfortable but also more stylish is this deflated sweat sock of a garment thing. This here is what we call an air or a wind couch. You fill this sucker up with air and you have a nice comfy little lounger. So you can roll it up, you can take it with you into the festival if they allow it in the grounds. Otherwise, you can just leave it in camp. It's super lightweight, super easy to use, and also super hilarious to watch your friends try to fill it. So you get to enjoy me attempt that right now. I said it was comfortable. I didn't say it was easy. So, pro tip, when you are not having success running back and forth to fill up the wind couch, you can grab a fan and do it a little bit more manually. Look at Tyler go. So majestic. It's like, oh, yeah. All right, and now that you're done goofing around with the wind couch, it's ready to sit down and camp.
Let's see if it's even inflated enough. Not quite.
It serves as the example. All right, slowly but surely, this is actually starting to look like a campsite. We now have our picnic blanket set up so that we can be nice and comfortable. We've got our chairs set up. We've got our camping table and grill, as well as cooler set out. So we are almost ready to have fun for the weekend.
Please consider the following.
Little pro tip when it comes to a camping blanket. You want to get one that is large enough to cover a sufficient amount of surface area on the ground, but not too large that it sticks out from underneath the pop-up canopy. This way, if it rains, you won't get rain falling on top of the canopy and kind of pooling underneath the canopy, getting all of your things wet. So, very important pro tip, you want it large, but not too large. So once you have your grill set up, very important tip, you want to make sure that if you have a pop-up canopy that the grill sits outside of it. If you're cooking, you do not want any smoke, any fumes coming off the grill, getting stuck under the canopy, choking you out. That's it's not a good time for anyone, folks. A quick pro tip with camping tables, folks, there's absolutely nothing wrong with just a standard folding table such as this, but ideally what you really want to look for is a folding table that has 4 individually adjustable legs. So that way if you end up on an uneven surface, you can actually level out the table. This won't matter for most things, but if you're doing something like cooking or, you know, playing beer pong or beer die, you're gonna want a nice level table so that way you don't have any grease running off of the grill and potentially causing a fire or just burning your things or ruining them. So getting a table that can be leveled out, very good tip. One other pro tip as you are setting up your camp kitchen, get yourself a water bottle or jug that has a spigot on the end like this one. This can be really great for setting up both a hand washing station as well as a dishwashing station. If you get yourself one of these, this is a collapsible basket that you can use as a sink or a washing basin. So when you get to camp, you can pop it open like so. When you're done with it, collapses down, easy to take in your car, easy to travel with, and you still have your hand washing station all set and ready to go. Okay, so when it comes to coolers in general, festivals or not, there's lots of opinions out there from the brand of cooler that you should get, from how you should do your ice in the cooler, from whether you should use regular ice or dry ice, from even how you should situate and sort your food and beverage within the cooler. For me, I only have one pro tip that I think is important when it comes to coolers, and it's to actually lock your cooler up when you leave camp and to lock it to your car if you can, locking it to the tire or the rim of your car if possible. Now, unfortunately, it is not unheard of to go into Reddit comments after a festival weekend and hear reports of people getting their Yetis stolen when they're in camp. So if you have a particularly nice cooler, and sometimes not even a very nice cooler at all, just a very well stocked one, it's not uncommon for a sticky-fingered wook or a thief to come by your camp and actually swipe it. While it sounds surprising that somebody could make off with an entire loaded cooler, it happens. You'd be surprised, but shit happens. So before I leave camp and before I leave this bright orange, attention-seeking Yeti cooler all by its lonesome, I like to use one of these cable locks to actually lock the lid of the cooler itself, and then I will lock the cooler to the wheel of my car. This is a carabiner cable lock that is made by Matador, so it makes it extremely simple to actually just loop it through the holes on the lid of the cooler, loop it through the carabiner itself, and then actually lock it with a key. So gives me peace of mind when I walk away. It's extremely simple, and even though it may be thin and a thief very well could cut through it, the entire point is just to give a deterrent. If your cooler is locked up and not easy to get into, then they've got to go to your neighbor's cooler. And hopefully, if you've given them good advice based on the advice that I've given you, their cooler can also be locked up for the weekend.
All right, we've got just about everything we need to make camp comfortable. Now it's time to add a little bit of personal flair, style, and decoration. So next we're gonna add some tapestries and flags. That way we can really denote and mark our camp. When we're walking away from it, walking up to it, we know exactly which one is ours because we know to look for the big yellow smiley face. Okay, so pro camping tip when you are setting up your tapestries or your camp flags and it comes time to actually hang them on your pop-up canopies, many folks just will actually tie them in a knot around the poles. Some folks will actually poke a hole in them and tie a zip tie around them. Others will actually use binder clips, but I instead found these on Amazon. Now these are spring clamps that I found on Amazon. They're just very simple, plastic, colorful spring clamps, but they're very strong and they do the job much better than a simple binder clip will do. You can see they've got little serrated teeth on them so that they keep a little extra grip. These have now gone through 2 electric forests. I make sure that I collect and save them after each forest. They don't go to waste, and they're still kicking strong. So highly recommend getting these clips. I'll link them in the description below. All right, guys, so that is going to bring us to the end of the video. We've got just about everything set up in camp that we're going to need for the weekend. We've got our tent, we've got our footprint and tarp laid underneath, we've got our pop-up canopies for shade and protection from the rain, we have our chairs set up, we have our hangout area, our sort of camp picnic blanket, we've got our camping table, our grill, as well as our tapestries for decoration. There's not too much more that you would want to add at this point that wouldn't really just be considered a glamping option. So I'm going to cut away briefly from the video so that I can break down what some of those items would be from home, and then we'll come back.
Yes, like Past Me said just seconds ago, there are several key upgrades that you can make to your camp that will really elevate it from just a simple camping setup to more of a glamping setup. So some of those examples include things like solar-powered string lights, otherwise known as fairy lights. You can get these on Amazon. They come in various lengths. They're solar-powered, so that you don't need to worry about batteries. Just stick this guy in the sun, wrap these solar lights around your pop-up canopy or your tents, and when you come back to your camp at night, you will have everything lit up. It will be easy to see and you won't be stumbling around in the dark. So, highly recommend these. The second upgrade that I suggest that you make is a flagpole. So this is actually a 20-foot flagpole that I have with 2 flags attached to it. I also have a 30-foot tall flagpole that I can attach multiple flags to. And what we do is actually zip tie these to the legs of our pop-up canopies. We hoist the flags high. We make sure that we get very unique flags from what other people may have in the rest of the campgrounds. And that way, when we are walking to or from our campsite, we always know exactly which one is ours and where it is, no matter what time of day, what time of night. It just makes it extremely easy to navigate to. So definitely pick yourself up one of these, get yourself some cool flags that you can identify for your group, and have a good time with it. The third upgrade that I suggest you make, especially if you're camping during the hot summer months, is a reflective tarp or aluminum shade cloth. These are going to be absolutely incredible for keeping the sun off of either your tent or your camp, and you'll be shocked at just how much of a difference it makes. I have used these every year that I've gone to Electric Forest, draping them over my tent before I go to bed so it keeps the morning sun off, really giving you another 2 to maybe even 3 extra hours of sleep as the sun isn't boiling your tent like an oven in the morning. So highly recommend getting this. If you find the aluminum shade cloth, that can actually be better than the tarp, as it will allow for more airflow between your tent or your pop-up canopy while still providing that sun coverage and reflection that keeps the temperature down. So reflective tarps, aluminum shade canopies, highly recommend them. Now, the final upgrade that I will recommend if you want the full glamping experience, or at least as much as you can get while you're camping in a dusty, dirty field, would be a solar power station. Now, this goes far above and beyond the typical portable charger that you would usually bring for your phone. This is a massive power station that can not only charge your phone or laptop multiple times, but it can charge larger appliances like a box fan or a TV or a projector or a coffee maker or speakers or a DJ booth. You get where I'm going here. When you get a solar powered power station as well, you can also invest in solar panels that will allow you to recharge the power station through the weekend, so you're not limited to just the one charge that it has on it. You can actually just keep refueling it through the weekend and essentially have unlimited power for your campsite. So if you have a large group that has to recharge a lot of items, or you just want to be extremely bougie and run appliances in your camp that will make you more comfortable, I highly recommend picking up a solar power station. Now, the caveat with these is I don't even have one myself, as they are incredibly expensive. So if you're making an investment in one of these guys, it is truly an investment, but it will unlock some extremely incredible benefits if you do pick one up. So up to you, weigh the risk and reward, whether you want to put your money down on a solar power station, but they can be very cool and give you some incredible upgrades if you so choose to pick one up.
All right, so with that, Tyler, we've gotten everything done. Just any other last tips, tricks, advice for people who are setting up a camp at a camping festival?
Yeah, a couple of things to think of. Sometimes that water station is going to be pretty far away from your car, so make sure you bring plenty of water. You're going to want that for cooking, for drinking. If you want to rinse off a little bit, don't want to wait in that shower line. So make sure you have plenty of water there. Other things like Peyton mentioned earlier, stake down your stuff. It gets windy, especially out in the Midwest, out by forests. So you want to be cognizant of that and prepare.
Yeah, we don't want anything flying away. We don't want anything getting damaged. We want everybody to be safe and comfortable throughout the entire weekend.
Other tip, make sure you lock up your things, all right? Unfortunately, as much as we want to live by plur, as much as we want to believe in the kindness of strangers, there are people who do steal in campgrounds. So when it comes to your valuables, when it comes to your luggage, when it comes to anything else important that you want to make sure that you keep safe through the weekend, make sure that gets locked back in your car. Hey guys, before I let you go, I just wanted to give a special shout out and a huge thank you to my boy Tyler. He was not only a huge help in getting the camping equipment set up, but he was also a major help behind the scenes with the cameras, not only helping me operate my own, but operating his as we have the multi-cam set up. So Tyler, very much appreciate your help. For those watching, this is also a great reminder that camp is a lot easier to set up when you have friends involved. So Tyler and I were probably able to set up camp in what would have been 45 minutes to an hour if we didn't have help from anybody else. If we had 3, 4, 5, or even 6 hands helping, we could really get camp set up in about 20, 30, 45 minutes tops, and then you're really just set to enjoy the rest of your weekend and have fun with your friends. So just a reminder, recruit your friends, get some help, set a game plan before the weekend, before you arrive, make sure that you know how to set up your equipment, and you will be ready for an excellent weekend of camping festival fun. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Like and subscribe here on YouTube if you want to see more, or follow me on Instagram at pay_braille for more daily content. Appreciate your faces, and I will see you in the next one.
You watch Philip DeFranco?